Nothing can prepare you for what's next.
We just don't know what to expect.
WandaVision original series now streaming only on Disney+.
I'm fine.
Welcome back, everyone. This is going to be my new Marvel WandaVision Sword video, just explaining what's going on with them, the Monica Rambeau character, because obviously there's so much other stuff going on with her in the MCU during Marvel Phase 4, and with the Sword Agency. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. I'm doing episodes for all WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, the Loki episodes later this year. There's going to be so much big stuff happening, and we're doing a giveaway for Disney Plus memberships. All you have to do to enter is just be a subscriber, and let me know what you want to see them do with Sword after the WandaVision series. Careful for spoilers for everything that's happened on WandaVision so far if you have not seen the episodes yet. But the past few episodes of WandaVision have given us a first look at the MCU version of adult Monica Rambeau. They have big plans for her. She was a version of Captain Marvel in the comics. She's going to be in Captain Marvel 2. She also had many other comic book names, and she's wearing her comic book uniform in this promo for WandaVision. She's a sword agent, so I'll explain what's going on with that. Now confirmed as of the end of episode 3, that was the big reveal. Scarlet Witch finding out, what's that symbol? What does that mean? We've known since the very first trailer that she was a sword agent because she appears in this group of them rushing up to the same spot outside the Westview town where Scarlet Witch's alternate dimension is and that special red energy barrier. We could just call that the MCU House of M, but right now it's sort of like an alternate dimension and alternate reality because this is all sort of setting up the concept of the multiverse during Marvel Phase 4. I know a lot of you were asking if this was a Mephisto reference too because it kind of looks like an upside down cross. I suppose you could think of it that way because there are a lot of Mephisto Easter eggs because they're doing Scarlet Witch's children with Vision, and Mephisto was a big part of that storyline, so there are Easter eggs for that. But in the trailer footage for episode 4 and future episodes, they just expand a lot on what's going on with Sword. You see a lot more footage of them outside this reality in present day. You see Scarlet Witch flying in the air using her red energy powers while it seems like she's trapped inside this containment cell. Like, you see the architecture around her here. She's wearing her modern-day Avengers Endgame costume. So it seems like this is a sword facility that they're keeping her in, and it could be a flashback to before the events of WandaVision Episode 1, or it could be from later episodes after they sort of bring her to her senses a little bit. Because there is that other trailer footage where she's talking to Vision about them fighting for their home, like fighting for this House of M reality. Teyonah Parris is the name of the actress who plays adult Monica Rambeau. She said that WandaVision picks up immediately after the events of Avengers Endgame. So I think what she means is that the show will eventually have flashbacks to the events right after Avengers Endgame. They have the funeral here for Iron Man, and then they think about Vision like she has that conversation with Hawkeye. I think they do know that we won. And then through more flashbacks, they'll show you how Scarlet Witch wound up inside her House of M reality. Because during episode 1, you just start the episode with her entering the Matrix, quote unquote, so to speak, entering her House of M reality and starting the scenario. Like she metaphorically hits a play button and starts the Wanda and Vision Greatest Hits album. So what's happening right now at the start of episode 4 is that she's been found out by Scarlet Witch, gets punted out with her telekinesis, and lands in the middle of the Sword Agents camp that they set up outside Westview to monitor Scarlet Witch. Like we saw Darcy or someone else watching the live video feed from inside the alternate reality, and it looked kind of like they were just watching a Nick at Night episode, because that's kind of what the director wanted to do with this version of the House of M MCU story. She and the other sword agents like Monica Rambeau are just watching as Scarlet Witch manifests her fantasy into reality, which is meant to be a version of her chaos magic and reality warping powers from the comics. Making fake things into real things. Like every time the scenario changes and they jump to a decade, she also changes what everybody looks like, what their personalities are. I talked a little about this during my episode 3 video, and I'll put a link for that in the description, because it's really important for how Billy and Tommy, the brand new twins, Wiccan and Speed from the comics, continue to exist in the MCU after WandaVision is over. And you'll also notice that she created Monica Rambeau's clothes, because before she goes into this alternate reality, she looks like this. This is her regular modern-day sword uniform as she's just standing here in this lab with Darcy and Jimmy Woo. Notice the sword logo on her shirt. In this TV down here, you see her wearing what looks like a quantum suit, just like Hank Pym's suit from Ant-Man and the Wasp. And then in the other new trailer footage for episode 4 and the future episodes, you see her piloting a ship through this barrier here that looks kind of like Hank Pym's quantum ship. The quantum realm, quantum energy, is obviously a big concept when you talk about multiverse, alternate timelines, alternate realities. So her in the quantum suit flying through the barrier here, this is all happening before the events of episode 2, where she shows up at this poolside meeting like, "Hello, my name is Geraldine." But per Jimmy Woo's dialogue, Randall Park's character in the radio here, right up to this scene here where Scarlet Witch goes all Thanos on Monica Rambeau, all of the SWORD agents have no idea what's causing this and what's happening to her. They thought that Scarlet Witch was being held here against her will, like some evil Marvel villain was making her do something. The big reveal, the big WTF twist, is that she's the one controlling everything, at least as far as we know. I think a lot of us are also expecting some deeper layers to this, because Scarlet Witch isn't a straight-up villain, but she has been an antagonist to the Avengers in the past, so this is them just leaning a little into that story. Like, yes, she's doing very bad things, but she herself is not a villain. More Easter eggs for that too, fake things becoming real things. When Monica Rambeau is getting punted out, they play the Monkees song, Daydream Believer. The Monkees were a fake band that then became a real band. They were a fake band created for the Monkees TV show, but then became a band in real life going around playing shows. The acronym for SWORD in the MCU stands for Sentient Weapon Observation and Response Team, so Nick Fury created this separate team from S.H.I.E.L.D. mostly to study superpowered people and artificial intelligences like the Infinity Stones and robots, androids like Vision. We talk about living weapons. Remember that the Infinity Stones are alive. They have a consciousness of their own and a will that they can exert on people. They kind of got into that during the first Avengers movie a little and during Avengers Age of Ultron, but by the time we got to Infinity War and Endgame, they treated them more like straight up gemstones, like Thanos just plucking them in his gauntlet to use. But the MCU version of these are a little bit like the Ring of Power in the Lord of the Rings series. They can exert their will on people who aren't strong enough to wield them. So with the advent of the Infinity Stones and then seeing people like Scarlet Witch, Vision, other superpowered people pop up ever since the events of the Captain Marvel movie, Nick Fury probably got the idea to create a SWORD agency specifically to address that. Whereas S.H.I.E.L.D. handled more general Earth-based problems like traditional law enforcement agencies. I think part of the idea with the SWORD agency, though, is that Nick Fury, because he never trusted anyone and knew that there was a big problem inside S.H.I.E.L.D., created SWORD in partnership with the Skrulls because he has this SWORD space station at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home, and he wouldn't have been able to build that without the Skrulls' technology and their resources. But because it's so big, it would have taken him a long time to create that, meaning that he was probably working on building it for a long time, all while S.H.I.E.L.D. was in the process of eating itself alive through Marvel Phase 2. That's a very Kevin Feige sort of reveal in the MCU, like, this thing has been around this whole time, we just haven't shown you, and then in future stories they reveal what was happening and why you didn't see it till now. But Monica Rambeau, being a SWORD agent in present day, is also the link back to the Captain Marvel movies. They introduced the Skrulls, she's a little girl, we see Mar-Vell's space station in orbit, fast forward to present day, Nick Fury has a much bigger version of that space station, hiding in orbit, cloaked. After WandaVision, Monica Rambeau will go to Captain Marvel 2. I know a lot of people are wondering if she's going to get her powers from the comics during WandaVision or if they'll save that for Captain Marvel 2. I'm assuming they'll probably tease that at the end of WandaVision and then they'll really pay it off during the movie. The new Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, is also supposed to be in that movie too, but we're not going to see her episodes till way later this year. So I know a lot of you are also asking about Inhumans as well, because Miss Marvel is an Inhuman in the comics. I don't know how they plan to address that, but it's still possible that they invoke the Inhumans in some way, even though originally the whole reason for them doing that terrible, terrible Inhuman series was because Marvel could not do X-Men series. Now that they have control of those characters again, they can do whatever they want. You don't really have to do Inhumans if you don't want to, but I'm sure when we get that first Miss Marvel trailer, they'll have a way of explaining that. But the whole thing here is that the SWORD agents just now figured out that Scarlet Witch is kind of the villain of this scenario, at least for right now. They still want to help her in some way, but she is the sentient weapon in this scenario along with Vision that they're trying to quote-unquote respond to, per the acronym. In the comics, it's Sentient World Observation and Response Department, and they're mostly tasked with dealing from threats outside of planet Earth, threats from other dimensions, threats from deep space, cosmic threats like the Celestials, things like Galactus, big Fantastic Four-style problems. So I have a feeling that the MCU version of this SWORD agency will also just combine a lot of that comic book stuff with this new Sentient Weapon Observation and Response stuff. Like they have that Avengers Secret Invasion series starring Nick Fury and Talos' Skrull character. It's going to be a Skrull-based Secret Invasion series. There'll also be a lot of SWORD stuff happening during that as well. But everyone, let me know in the comments, where else do you want to see Monica Rambeau and the SWORD agents show up in Marvel Phase 4? My full WandaVision episode 4 video will post Friday just like normal. Make sure you have alerts enabled for my channel so you don't miss any of that. Everyone click here for my full WandaVision episode 3 video, and click here for that brand new Godzilla vs. Kong trailer. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.